It has been 15 years since James Brown died on Christmas Day. After a long battle, his family may have finally settled his multi-million-dollar estate. Joining me now to discuss this is Meg Kinnard, political reporter for the Associated Press. She is, of course, broadcasting from Houston. Meg, glad to have you on the show. So, I mean, God, 15 years, this constant back and forth, legal battles, children who were not in the estate. The money was supposed to be going to provide scholarships to needy black children. Is this thing finally over?
Hey, Roland, it's always good to see you and be with you. I wish I could say yes, although we've said that before. As you noted, this estate battle has been going on since James Brown's death on Christmas Day in 2006. We've had multiple settlements in the past. We've had those settlements then overturned in various courts, including South Carolina's Supreme Court. And so last week, we had an attorney who's been involved in the litigation saying, kind of out of the blue, honestly, I hadn't realized that this had been really going on, but saying that a settlement had been reached on July 9th, a global settlement that would finally, he said, put to rest all of the legal issues surrounding James Brown's estate. So while I think we can say yes, I'm still not sure because there have been so many ups and downs in this case for now 15 years.
And James Brown made it clear, we thought, how he wanted his estate to be handled. He wanted an Elvis Presley type, situation, but also he wanted the money to go to black kids for scholarships.
That's right. In his will, James Brown set out the creation of the I Feel Good Trust, which would have created scholarships for needy children throughout South Carolina and Georgia, as well as paid for the education of his numerous grandchildren. He set out in his will on a Supreme Court last year noted that they felt James Brown had been of sound mind when he created that will. And so that's something that they were adamant really needed to happen. Last year's ruling seemed to set forth the path for that trust to actually finally be created now 15 years later. So yes, that is something that James Brown wanted. And although we haven't seen details of this global settlement reached this month, I would assume that that's at least some part of it, considering what the courts have already said.
And obviously what often happens is with a lot of these celebrities, we saw it with Michael Jackson, they were actually worth more dead than alive. And so I would assume that the James Brown estate, through licensing deals, things along those lines, has been steadily growing and building.
There's been some dispute about how much actually James Brown's estate was worth at the time of his death, and including up until now. Estimates from between $5 million to $100 million. But there have also been attorneys involved in this case throughout who have said that there wasn't a whole lot of money actually left in his accounts and that many things had to be done to settle debts when he died. But you're absolutely right. There have been ongoing licensing deals for James Brown's music as well as his image to be used in multiple commercial situations. Again, we don't know exactly how much money that has brought in, but considering the continued popularity of James Brown, I would imagine that there is plenty of funds wherever that money is going.
Well, hopefully this thing is settled. Hopefully, you won't have these legal battles, because the bottom line is, it seems like the only people who are getting paid are the damn attorneys.
There have been a lot of attorneys involved in this case over the years. I was reading over some old stories of mine, and one of my colleagues, Katrina Goggins, who covered this story for many years as well. And I was just digging through all kinds of lawyer names, people I haven't thought of in a long, long time. So you're absolutely right. That's how legal cases go. We can assume that the attorneys will have their stake. But also, there are many members of James Brown's family who have been trying to access some of what they say should be left to them from his estate. Again, we don't know the details. Maybe we will someday, maybe we won't.
Well, we know that you'll certainly be on top of it, folks. Meg Kinnard, she is a reporter out of South Carolina for the Associated Press. And let me also say, so I put this tweet out, Meg. You are still battling breast cancer. Our fans, they appreciate having you on the show. They're still praying for you and your family that you will have a full recovery as you're there in my hometown, MD Anderson. And so we still got your back and praying for a full recovery for you.
Thank you, Roland. I really do appreciate you and all the fans out there, and I thank you all for your thoughts and prayers. They really do mean so much. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. We certainly appreciate it.
See you later.
Thanks a lot. On Congo, the deaths of Prince, Aretha Franklin. You could even throw in Michael Jackson, James Brown. I mean, so many people have talked about, again, folks having their wills, having their states all together. And unfortunately, it's like, goodness, it's like he wanted the money to go to scholarships, and the folks who've been getting the money, like I said, have been the lawyers over the last 15 years.
Yeah, it's sad, man. We're talking 15 years. And with all of the kids who could have benefited from that money, who are now, adults now, and it's just really sad. And you start thinking about people who may have been impacted during the COVID pandemic as well. Maybe, arts programs were lost. And so a lot of wasted opportunities have happened with James Brown passing. And then it would have took like 2 years or many years before he was even buried. So I think that this needs to be a lesson for all of us, to be quite honest. I mean, when I'm thinking about someone's net worth, I'm thinking maybe like a $20 million difference, maybe like 80 to 100 million. People are saying between $5 and $100 million. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so I think all of us who don't have even clearly the same level of stature, we need to all start looking at our financial houses. We've seen situations in our communities where mothers and grandmothers and grandfathers and fathers have died, and their houses got taken, by churches and banks and different types of places. If what has happened with the people you've just mentioned have not been a wake-up call for all of us to get our house in order, I don't know what will. It's a real tragedy what has happened with him and what happened after he passed.
There are a lot of people who were contesting the will, people who were left out, all of that. That's why I always get a kick, Faraji, out of the folks who put in their estate, if anybody legally challenges this, you definitely getting left out. You on mute.
I'm looking at the situation with Michael Jackson, Brother Roland, where they're still in court. I mean, Forbes just did a piece just a few days ago about the fact that Michael Jackson, his estate is in court 12 years after his death and following 8 years of litigation. And they're also talking about whether the wealth tax if that would apply to Michael Jackson's estate. I mean, and I'm with my brother, like when we look at the amount of money, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Brother Roland, but I saw an article, and I forgot who mentioned it, but they said that Michael Jackson made like crazy nearly $1 billion after he died. And so when you're looking at that amount of money coming in, and then you got all of these people at the table, you got the lawyers, you got the family members and all of that stuff. And then you look at the will. I was surprised to hear, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I did hear, like, for example, that Aretha Franklin didn't have a will.
She did.
And when you look at a situation like that, it's almost like we have to teach our people in particular about the importance of generational wealth, but we also got to teach them about wills, the importance of having a document, a legal document that will outline how your assets and your money and all of the things that you've acquired over your life, how that should be, distributed or spent or given away. There needs to be that. And there's not enough conversation, especially within our community, around these issues. And I mean, we got to even go back to the fact, Brother Roland, and I see this all the time, and I know this is not quite the same thing, but if you die, that you don't have to go to a GoFundMe, that you have life insurance.
Yep.
that you understand the importance of thinking about life for your family if you're not here. If we're not having those type of conversations, but we're constantly having conversations around getting money, but not necessarily knowing how to spend money, and damn sure not having conversations on how to save money in case something happens to us, then this is all for naught.
Hopefully, Julian, there's an actual settlement. I mean, I was looking through some stories there, and Meg is right. There were like multiple stories about settlement after settlement after settlement, and those before were not true.
You know, Roland, Black people are extremely uncomfortable about having end-of-life conversations. It's not just the will, although the will is very important. It's also about how you want to die. You have people who might be sitting in a coma for 2 or 3 months. They don't want to be in that coma, but they've never had a conversation with whoever has their medical power of attorney about, you know, cut this stuff off at a point in time if I ain't coming back, because otherwise the estate might be encumbered with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Somehow, I have a friend, it's not a friend, but well, anyway, whatever, who actually has a list of what she wants to have served at her repast. But she does not have a will. You know, I mean, she has the whole menu. She knows who she wants to sing what at the funeral, but she does not have a will. Now, I'll tell you, as many folks know, my mom made her transition about a month ago. It was funeralized last Saturday. She talked to us before she even got sick. This is who gets this is who gets that, and I don't want you little heathens fighting about anything. I mean, she was very clear. So if anybody's surprised, we didn't think that everything was necessarily fair, but it's what she wanted. It's her stuff. And so that's what we have to be able to have, those conversations. But Black people don't want to do that. For whatever reason, you gonna die, y'all. You really gonna die. You might not die tomorrow, but you will die. And so you might want to be the one to make sure that you have control over your assets. Here's the other thing. When you die intestate, which means without a will, depending on where you die, the feds or the state government can get between 50 and 80% of your property. Now, you've been paying taxes all your life.
Wow.
But the government can take your stuff because you chose not to leave a will. So I don't care if you're 25 or 95. This is an important conversation. The drama around James Brown, Michael Jackson, Prince, call the roll. Did these people think they were going to live forever?
Folks, back to that Roland Martin unfiltered video in just one moment.
Racial injustice is a scourge on this nation, and the Black community has felt it for generations. We have an obligation to do something about it. Whether it's canceling student debt, increasing the minimum wage, or investing in Black-owned businesses, the Black community deserves so much better. I'm Nina Turner, and I'm running for Congress to do something about it.